Hi, I'm Shelley Wood and this is my tiny sewing room where I make doll clothes sewing videos. Today I'm going to show you how to make a cute little nightgown. It's designed to fit most 18-inch dolls, like the American Girl dolls and similar sized dolls. But before we begin, please go to my website shelleywood.com to download and print these free PDF sewing patterns. There's a helpful link in the description below this video on YouTube. Use the pattern to cut out 2 bodice fronts, 4 bodice backs, and 1 skirt that measures approximately 20 inches by 8 inches. Lay 1 bodice front on top of another, keeping right sides together. Stitch around the neck and each armhole area. I'm using a backstitch, but you could use a sewing machine, of course. Would you like to learn how to backstitch? If so, I have a link to my tutorial on the backstitch in the description below this video. Use a pair of precision snips, like Fisker's micro tips, to clip each of the seams that you've made so far. That's what I'm doing here. Now, of course, the video goes quickly, but you would want to do this very slowly so you don't accidentally cross your seams. And the Fisker's micro tips are a wonderful tool for this. For a long time I didn't own any, and people kept telling me I should get some. Now I know why. Invert the bodice front. Now, I like to use a chopstick for this, and you'll see me doing that in this little clip. So I just give my chopstick a twist to kind of poke out the straps. Once you've clipped and inverted the bodice front, you'll want to press each seam that you've made. Now lay 1 bodice back on top of another, again keeping your right sides together. Sew the L-shaped neckline and the swooping armhole area only. Don't sew the back closure area just yet. Clip your seams. Again, these are Fisker's micro tips. Wonderful little tool for clipping tiny seams. Follow the same directions for the other back. Clip and invert both backs. Now, if you'd like a pair of these, I do have a link in the description below this video on YouTube. And there's my chopstick helping me invert those straps. Press your seams. Now you will have 1 bodice front and 2 backs. The sloping side of the bodice back will connect to the bodice front, while the square edge will become a back closure. Lay 1 bodice back on top of the bodice front, joining them at the underarm. Next, open the underarm for both front and back. Okay, so here's my sloping side. It's just got a little swoop to it, and I first join these, then I open them. Right there at the underarm, I'm going to open it up, and then I join these 2, sewing from like my right thumb to my left thumb. You'll stitch across that opening. Again, I'm using a back stitch. With the bodice lining and the front still lying open, clip the underarm seam. Once that's clipped, it should be easy to lay the two halves of the bodice flat. Okay, so here are my little snips, and I just clip that seam right there and on the other side of my stitch, and then it should lie very flat right there. Now you should have one back piece attached to the front piece, but the garment is not attached at the shoulder. Lay the other back over the top of the bodice front. Once again, open the front and back pieces and stitch them together at the underarm. Clip this underarm area just as you did before. Set the bodice aside for a moment, and we'll hem the nightgown skirt. Use a double fold or rolled hem along one long side of the garment skirt. I'm using a whip stitch for this. If you need help with the whip stitch, I have a tutorial for that in the links below this video on YouTube. Now, on the opposite side of the finished hem, gather the nightgown's skirt piece, and if you need help with gathering, I have a tutorial for that below this video on YouTube as well. Do not tie off your gathers. Instead, pin the gathered skirt to just one side of the bodice while keeping right sides together. So what you'll do is open up that bodice like you did when you clipped the underarm area, and then pin the skirt of the nightgown to just one side of the bodice. I usually pin to the bodice front, keeping right sides together. And again, you don't want to tie off your gathers until you've seen, does the skirt fit the bodice correctly? And then you can adjust when you get there. Once pinned, backstitch the skirt to just one side of the nightgown's bodice. The lining of the bodice will later be used to hide your gathers. Now that you've finished stitching the skirt to the bodice, you can tie off the gathers. And here's how it looks from the front now. Just letting you know if you're on the right track. Open up the bodice's side again and fold it inside the bodice itself. This will cause the side of the skirt to fold in. Whip stitch up the side of the skirt, creating a 2 to 3 inch long hem. Continue to whip stitch up the back closure area, folding the bodice in toward the gathers as you sew. Okay, so I just fold this in like that, and then I fold that in a little. Okay, and as I do so, it curls that edge so I can whip stitch that back area. Once you've finished hemming the back closure, whip stitch along the bottom of the bodice where you've folded it under to enclose the gathered raw edge. When you reach the other side of the bodice, fold that back closure in like you did the other side and whip stitch to form a similar back closure. Don't forget to whip stitch 2 inches down the other side of the skirt, just like you did on the first side. Fold the nightgown, bringing together the unsewn shoulder area with right sides together. So you can see what I mean by that. We're bringing together the straps. Sew across the shoulder using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Do the same for the other side of the nightgown. Clip the corners of the shoulder seam you've created as needed. Open each shoulder seam up and press. You may need to clip excess fabric from the shoulder seams at this point too. Fold the nightgown in half, keeping right sides together, and pin together the raw edges from the bottom of the back closure to the hem. Once you've pinned in this last little section, stitch from the bottom of the back closure area to the hem at the very bottom of the nightgown. Invert the nightgown. Attach a couple of snaps in the back, and now you're ready to try it on a doll. For more free printable PDF sewing patterns for making doll clothes to fit dolls of many shapes and all different sizes, please remember to visit my website, shelleywood.com.
What if there was an easy way to take a big doll pattern and resize it to fit a little doll, or vice versa? I'm Shelley Wood, the doll clothing designer, and in my pattern alteration class, I'm going to share with you my resizing formula.
But don't worry, you don't have to be really good at math to learn how to take a pattern you already own and make adjustments to that pattern so it will fit a different doll. And that's just one feature of pattern alterations. In my class, you'll also learn how to shorten and lengthen a pair of pants, and how to turn a pair of pants into shorts, or how to widen them at the waist, and even how to lengthen the inseam for taller dolls. We'll also learn how to adjust a skirt, making skirts that are more full or less full for a totally different look, and I'll show you how to create a gusset for a dress bodice, and how to design your own waistband for a skirt based on your doll's measurements. I'll walk you through the steps to several different pattern alterations, teaching you how to lengthen and shorten shirt sleeves, and how to make felt prototypes before you finalize your pattern. Regardless of the size or shape of the doll you enjoy sewing for, altering your patterns will help you turn your creative ideas for making original doll clothes into a variety of patterns for making shirts, pants, shorts, skirts, and dresses.
I invite you to join me. We are going to have so much fun.